right. So I gave your bio, and one of the things that we like to start with is a compelling story to bring our Ruckus Maker listeners into our discussion today.
Yeah. So when I was kind of thinking about that, I thought back to one of the more visceral experiences when I was in the classroom, it was, I believe, my first, maybe second year of teaching. And I was teaching third grade in the Bronx. And the school was struggling in a lot of different ways. There was a lot of leadership turnover and whatnot. And one of the school leaders of the moment stepped up, at a professional development, a PD session, and said, they were trying to kind of recalibrate school culture and whatnot. And they established something along the lines that the rules that applied to students also applied to teachers. That was the main idea. And so they were said, you can't be, drinking coffee in your classroom. You can't, and they had all these kind of, almost arbitrary rules that they were establishing. And I really don't remember a lot of what they were. But as a new teacher, what I do remember is the response that my colleagues around me had to it. And it was, if you can believe it or not, a very negative response. People were really frustrated, very upset. They felt very belittled. And that kind of sowed some seeds for me around kind of professional development time. And ever since then, I've been really just curious about how we use that time when teachers come together. Because often, we're in our own classrooms with students. And so that time when we come together is so precious and so rare almost. And so how can we use that time really strategically? And so that's what I've spent a lot of my time, both, when I've been in the classroom as a classroom teacher, or now kind of switching into more of a researcher mode of what's going on during professional development and how can it be used more effectively. And the last few years, I've really been focused not just on PD broadly, but on PD that looks or aims for racial justice. And so I've kind of been curious of like, what are schools doing when they say, "Oh, we want to tackle racism in our school, or we want to talk about racism in our school?" And that's kind of what I've found myself learning about the last few years.
Great. And one of the points that you hit on with that story is so impactful to me right now. As a school leader and as school leaders that are listening to our show, the time that we have with our teachers is extremely limited. So it is important that we are strategic and specific and make it worthwhile, make it want to be a place where the teachers want to be, and it's
Hmm.
something that's going to grow them and grow the culture of the school. And
Yep.
when you start off with "you will not," it is it's hard to come back from that, really.
Yep. Yeah, it was a tough moment for that school for sure.